On this episode of Playlog, we're talking about starting a podcast, figuring out how to run a podcast, and giving our reviews on Pepper Grinder. Hey guys, CGDannyB back again with another episode of Playlog, the podcast where we talk about all things indie gaming. And this is somewhat officially, kind of, sort of, with this format, our first episode of Playlog. Can we get a round of applause though? Woo. Perfect. And joining me today, my partner in crime, the play.nice kid themselves, Tofr.
Hi everyone.
What's poppin', dude? We're doing the damn thing. We're out here doing it.
We're doing it. This is exciting.
For anyone who may not know you, who might just be like, oh, the name sounds familiar, or haven't seen you do content with them before, like, tell them who you is.
So my name is Tofr. I'm from Belgium. I used to run the play.nice.kids TikTok account, where I covered indie games. And yeah, we share a passion for indie games, and so ready to do this.
Yeah, dude. We'll have a section where we talk about like starting and how we kind of got together to do this whole thing. But in typical podcast format, you know, we need a little icebreaker or so. So if you were in the CGDannyB community Discord, I put in a form last night, had a couple questions for the podcast, and we have some viewer written in questions, comments, etc. And Cartoon Burbro did and asked, if you had to force someone on... if you had to force everyone on Earth to play an indie game, what would it be? Not just your favorite. So Burb, thank you for writing in. I'm going to let you go first. So if you had to force everybody on the planet to play one indie game, what is it?
I'm going to have to go with Night in the Woods.
Okay.
It's like, first of all, I suffer with mental health issues, and I feel like Night in the Woods covers that really well. I need everyone to feel depressed. But no, it's so creative. You have like, it has great dialogue, great characters. There's a music mini game. I love everything about it, and it shows the creativity that indie games are all about.
It's brutal, because Night in the Woods is on my list of shame. It's on my wheel. I have it. I haven't played Night in the Woods. And like the moment they announced their next game, I was like, I have to. But now it's the fates. It's the fates. Whenever that wheel spins for sub goals and it lands on it, I'm all in. But now it's a crapshoot. Nah, dude, it looks like such a stunning game, and I'm so excited to play it someday. And I'm hoping that day is like sooner rather than later. Definitely before they release their next game, which I forget the title of right now. But yeah, it looks lit.
I can't remember right now either, but it's a definite recommend from me.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna love it.
I'm so excited.
You played what's it called, the hospital game?
Fall of Porcupine.
Yeah. If you love that, like Night in the Woods is even better.
Okay. Well, hopefully that one actually launches. Our Fall of Porcupine. Yeah. What's our beef? You guys gave me a review code. I had to go buy it on PlayStation so I could play the damn thing.
But you were in the trailer.
I was in the trailer, which is actually pretty exciting, so I can't even be mad at it. But I am quoting that trailer. That's pretty lit, dude. That's pretty lit.
So what would your game be that you pick?
Off the rip, the moment I saw the question rated, I put Celeste, and like I've got my hopefully customary mug to be here every episode. You can do this. Celeste is just great, and it's like a very like mainstream answer. I think when you think of like a mental health indie game that everybody knows about, or most people know about, it's Celeste. But like not enough people have actually played it, and that's a problem, because this game is so great. You play as like Madeline. You're trying to climb to the top of Celeste Mountain, and there's both the like figurative and literal, like climbing of a mountain, like trying to get to the actual peak of this mountain. But then there's depression, self-doubt, all these other things, dealing with your own personality, saying you can't do something, and then all your friends are like, but you can, I believe in you, and you're like, actually shut up, you don't mean that. And it's the gameplay is super fun. You're traversing these like really difficult levels, but even if like you can't actually handle the difficulty of the game, there's all kinds of accessibility settings. There's like a god mode where you fall and you don't take damage. Even if you don't play with those, the respawns are super quick. Like you die, boom, you're right back in to try it again. So you're not like running through levels to like, oh, I can't get used to it, I'm not getting the groove down. It's super accessible, whether you want the challenge or you want it simple, you just want the story. Celeste is beautiful, and if you haven't played it, you're a scrub.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Plus, they're working on their next game, Earthblade, which I think is slated for 2024. So if you don't play Celeste now, you're going to be behind.
They actually just announced that it's not going to release this year.
God damn it. I'm canceling the podcast. I don't even want to be here anymore. That's valid. No, it's valid. Take your time. There's too much to play. Take your time.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yes, Burb, thank you so much for that question. If you guys want to write in with your own questions about gaming, indie gaming, maybe some other stuff, we'll see what gets picked. In the YouTube description, there'll be a Google form. And if you're listening on podcast services, I think Spotify, Castbox, Amazon Music, and I think iHeartRadio should all be on. In the description for the podcast, you can find that Google form and you can put in your own questions and hopefully read them on the show. But now we can talk a little bit about like how this thing got started. And I know you're kind of like further into the process than I am. So I guess I'll start where it happened. I've wanted to do an indie gaming podcast for a while. I wanted to do a podcast for a while. My buddy Connor has this idea we want to do a podcast, but it's kind of when can we get together and do it? And it's a little more like broad. And I wanted an indie gaming podcast. I wanted to talk about indie games week to week, what we're playing, the news in them, et cetera, et cetera. And most of my friends in this immediate circle play indie games, but like to a 10th of the degree that I do. We're like, oh my God, we're all playing Power World. And then I've got 17 other indie games. And they're like, oh my God, we're all playing, what's the newest one? And maybe everyone's playing, Content Warning. I just dropped out. You know, like they're so sparse where like I'm playing new ones all the time. So doing a podcast every month to talk about all these indie games just wasn't enough for me. So I was like, I need someone to talk indie games with. And I had like a note and I had your name on it for the longest time because we talked back and forth in TikTok comments and everything. And then you had made your post like, hey guys, I'm stepping down. Please go watch CGDannyB. He does this better than I do. And I was like, you motherfucker, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You do great content. And I was just like, shit, do I message him now? I'm like, hey, before you quit, you want to do a podcast or what? But I was like, let me not do that. Let me not shoehorn that. But while we were at PAX, I'm running into all these internet friends that have just been like usernames on a screen. Jacob McCourt, the 6-1 Indie guys, Jenny Wyndham from Wholesome Games, the Crossplay Conversation guys, Joe Hooper, Luke Lewis, like all these really cool guys. And I'm like, oh, I want my podcast. I want to do my podcast. And you commented on a TikTok that I posted while I was there. I think it was my Waterme reaction. I might be forgetting. And I was like, hey, by the way, I have to ask you something. You're like, ooh, okay. All right. And then like we got back from PAX. I settled in. I'm like, by the way, here's what I'm thinking. I sent you a novel on TikTok. And I was like, where are you at with it? And you're like, yeah, okay. Let's go. And then we planned it and here we are. But I'd love to hear what you were thinking when you got this like novel in a TikTok message, which is the worst place to type a message.
But the thing is, in my farewell video, I mentioned that I would be up for doing content with other people. I work full time and I didn't have the time nor the energy to keep creating on a daily basis. Yeah. So I did reach out to like people in general through that video. Didn't really expect any response to that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this book. And my TikTok messages, and I was just like, the longer I kept reading, like my initial reaction was, is this for real? This has to be a joke. And then I kept reading and you were like totally serious about it, and I was like, well, of course I want to do this. Like I live in Belgium, the country that brought you Baldur's Gate 3, by the way. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys.
And the indie scene here isn't that alive. Mm-hmm. Most people, like I used to work in a video rental store and we used to rent out games as well. And everyone kept buying the same old shit. Yeah. Your Call of Duties, your Grand Theft Autos.
Play something new, people.
Yeah. And I haven't really met people who share my passion for indie games. Yeah. And that's why I started reacting to your videos, because your enthusiasm for them is just like palpable. And I one of my favorite things in life is when people talk about things that they love. Mm-hmm. Because there's this passion there's fire under their butt. and I love that. And to get to sit here and do this with you is just like, yeah.
It's exciting, right? It's like really.
It is. It really is.
There was like that like nerve in your gut, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and do this for the first one. It might be long. We might ramble. They're not going to see it because we're going to edit it, but the 3 or 4 times I bumbled the intro, that's going to be edited out. It's not going to be a problem, but like, it's awesome, dude. I'm excited. We haven't even got to like any of the news, the topic of the show or anything like that, but I think we have like a format here. And those of you who are watching or listening along, like this show is going to grow with like your feedback. If you think something's a little too long in the tooth, you think we're not talking about something enough. If the audio sucks, if you're just like, man, I don't even like these two guys. Well, there's nothing we do about that. There's other podcasts, but like, oh, well. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to get into it and talk indie games each week. So
absolutely.
Probably a good time to say, hey, since this is Playlog, we should be dropping these episodes every Thursday at insert time here. I don't know when, maybe noon. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see which time works best. I have to look at the analytics and see how you guys like it. But yeah, of course, if you're listening to this on YouTube, do me a favor, drop a thumbs up. It helps people find the show. And if you're listening to any podcast service, don't forget to leave a review. That way, more people find it on those. I don't listen to podcasts on those yet. So like, I don't know the best way to do that. So we're trying to grow. We're picking up things as we go. But with the story of how we got this podcast started, we had some quick news you were going to go through. Some might engage some more conversation than I expected, because you dropped some of this news on me like the moments before we went to record. So I'm like, hold on, this happened?
Listen, I was gonna surprise you during the recording at first, but then I thought that would be cruel.
Listen, it would have been dope. I would have been like panicked. I'm like, I'm not prepared for this news. I didn't know, but also like it happened. What? And it was like, what news is this? And that news would be that Hollow Knight Silksong got an official Xbox page and an age rating. You came to me with this one, so how about you tell the people what happened with Silksong this week?
So yeah, yesterday the game got an official Xbox page, which means it's getting ready to be released. But the major news, according to what's the name, Best Indie Games.
Best Indie Games, great channel.
Is that it has an age rating. It's rated 10 plus for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, and to get an age rating, you usually have to deliver like an almost complete game.
Right.
Like the last time that a game's rating was released without the game having a release date was Elden Ring. That got an age rating. Yeah, that got an age rating in December and was launched in February. So I'm not saying that we're gonna get it within the next 2 months, but we might.
But I mean, like it's around, right? Like the fact that we have that, and like I had no idea it was an Xbox page. I didn't know we got an age rating. But Hollow Knight Silksong has been that back and forth. Will we see it? When will it happen? Hey, it's been delayed. It was at the one Xbox showcase. They said everything you're seeing here is like 12 months out. And then that didn't happen for Silksong. And like in the most respectful way, everyone wants to play this. But at the same time, like take your time, make the game great. Mm-hmm. And like we've had like on the list of podcast ideas when we don't have like a review or anything, like having a discussion of can Silksong live up to the hype anymore with like how long people have talked about it. Will it come out and will it be like a Half-Life 3 thing of like everybody wants it, everybody wants their hands on it, and when they get it you're like, this just wasn't worth like the wait and the excitement. I like to think and hope that it will be, but like I think getting that release date and knowing that like it's going to be in our hands in a set amount of time, hopefully like officially for real this time, is like super exciting. And like I'm looking, we got the reveal trailer for Silksong back in 2019, February 2019. So that's what, 5 years? Yeah, 5 years. So, man, indies take some time, but sometimes the big ticket ones like that, like it's crazy how long they'll take to come out and like how much they're in the public eye.
I just hope that this is a sign of how they're taking their time to like make it as polished as it can be.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared. Like the last time I felt this hype for an indie game was with No Man's Sky, and that release just wasn't all that smooth.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared, but kind of excited.
Yeah, I remember putting a lot of time in No Man's Sky, and then like after those first like 3 or 4 days, I'm like, I really don't like this space exploration. No Man's Sky is kind of the game that told me like, Dan, you just don't like flying in spaceships, like. And whenever I see that in the trailer, I'm like, please tell me that's just like a fast travel screen. Like I'm not actually flying it. Like Star Wars Squadron, it's not an indie, but like I see that, I'm like, nah, not for me, dog. That ain't about it. Outer Wilds is one I've played. Like the moment I got into like the ship traversal part, I'm like, I'll come back to this. And then it got away from me. And like that traveling in a spaceship is just such a thing that I don't enjoy. And hopefully Silksong doesn't have any space exploration like that. But no, I've said time and time again, like I've never finished Hollow Knight, which is another one on my like list of shame. But I just remember getting to this damn elevator. I couldn't figure out how to get to the other side so I can go down to progress and get to the objective. And I just like to chalk it up to young Danny didn't understand Metroidvanias at the time, and I'm sure he could find it now. But yeah, once we like get that announcement, that trailer, and we talked about doing like a Hollow Knight book club, like we replay it, have people write in, what are your thoughts on Hollow Knight in 2024, and then prepare for Silksong. So that's definitely some content here to come in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I haven't finished it either, so
yeah, we could both be ashamed. So you can leave negative comments for both of us. Yeah, Silksong official page. Hopefully we'll have a date for that sometime here soon. I don't think there's any like announced showcases, but I mean, indie showcases pop up out of nowhere. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Let's see. Next quick news, you know, as quick as it can be. Bugsnax board game announced and already doubled its funding. Another one that you brought to me. No idea there was a Bugsnax board game, but
again, it was announced yesterday. Like, yeah. And it wasn't an April Fool's joke. It launched without any hype.
Yeah.
But it's a card game and it looks like a lot of fun actually. It looks as colorful as the original game does.
Yeah.
And I think if it plays as well as it looks in the video, I think it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, I
might have to back it myself.
I'm taking this like quick peek at it. I'm trying to like kind of build in my head without reading it, like what type of game it is. If it's like a Pokemon / Yu-Gi-Oh style battle game, I'm not entirely sure how this one functions, but the fact that it's got the goal was 15,000. They've already raised 30,000. Listen, I'm just saying, if this was an April Fool's joke, it's an expensive ass April Fool's joke to be like $30,000, baby. But yeah, it's got 900 backers already. If they still have like 30 days left in their funding, so even though they've hit their goal, you guys that's the wrong button. You guys can still go help fund it. So if you want to go over to the Kickstarter page, read the description, kind of get a look at what the game is, you can help back it and get yourself a copy over there. Mm-hmm. Let me see. The next one you brought to me, which was another fun surprise. Lost in Cult is creating a Mika and the Witches Mountain, a book and vinyl set. So I've talked about Mika a little bit. I did a trial period way back when. I've done a couple TikToks talking about it, but it's basically like Kiki's Delivery Service, the game. And you play as this little girl, Mika. She wants to become a witch, and she's kind of like building up to becoming like the best witch that she can. But she starts like a delivery service around town, and you fly around your broom. You're picking up different collectibles. You're like, hey, this guy forgot his lunch at home. You take it to him at the docks and stuff. Really cute, really charming. We both backed it on Kickstarter. And I'd recently done a little unboxing. I got my figurine of Mika in the mail like 2 weeks ago or so. Really cute. Now, I'm not the biggest book or vinyl collector, but like I always like when indie games get something else aside from their game. Now, I know you did you get like a look at a little more detail on what the book or the vinyl like are, like how much the music or is it art book, I think?
I haven't managed to take a look at that mail just yet. I just saw it appear in my mailbox, but I didn't have the time today. But considering what Lost in Cult have done before, like they usually do art books as they have done for Eastward. And Citizen Sleeper. So I think they always make high quality works, and I think this is going to be worth backing as well.
Hell yeah. When you get a chance, do me a favor and check the embargo of that email, just in case. We're recording this on Tuesday, it comes out on Thursday, but just in case you're like, hey, don't talk about this till Friday, then I know like not to get the first episode banned by breaking the embargo.
maybe I should do that first.
I'm assuming, because I just don't see it on Twitter, so I just want to double check that it was like announced. Let me see. Lost in Cult.
I had a mail from Lost in Cult and from Kickstarter from the developers of Mika.
Okay, so they announced it on their Kickstarter?
Yeah.
God, I have my notifications on. I'm logged out, that's why.
So the people who have backed the game can access a pre-order of the exclusive limited editions.
Okay, so they've told us
Yeah.
we could. Okay, so then it sounds like to me it's formally announced, and we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, exclusive pre-order. There it is. Oh, that's such cute art. Hold on, I can pull that up.
I know, right?
Look at that.
And the
That's so
art book is
adorable.
like 200 plus pages.
Oh, good lord. Can I get a better look at this? Can I zoom in here? That's so pretty. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Yeah, there's the, I guess, the cover art for the book. Can we just look at the thing? I was trying to be really cool about it. All right. Anyway, audio listeners are just like, okay, well, we can't see that part. Anyway, it's on there if you want to check it out. I think you can still back the game on Kickstarter. No, it's done. Yeah. So
The Kickstarter is done.
you're too late. You're slow. Now you just got to buy the game when it comes out, losers. But
You really should. You really should.
yeah, the game's really fun. I don't know if they still have the demo up. Double check Steam when you guys get a chance. And yeah, it's a cute little game. I think it'll be fun when it comes out for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Next quick news. I saw this on Twitter this morning. Super lit that it's happening. Sony picks up Dave the Diver and Tales of Kinzera Zhao for PlayStation Plus games catalog. This one's from Wesley Yinpol from IGN. Basically, we wrote, in the post of the PlayStation blog post, Sony announced that Dave the Diver's hit PlayStation game catalog on April 16th. Dave the Diver was one of the surprise hits of 2023, receiving a 9 out of 10 from IGN's review. We said Dave the Diver is an aquatic adventure RPG that's wholesome, wonderfully complex, and delightfully hard to put down. And then continuing from there. Meanwhile, also on the PlayStation blog, Sony announced that Tales of Kinzera Zhao releases day one into the PlayStation Plus games catalog on April 23rd. This EA-published Surgent Studios developed 2.5D story-driven action exploration game, Jesus Christ, genres are crazy, was shaped by Assassin's Creed actor, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, Abubakar Salim, I believe is how you say his name, but he played Bayek in Assassin's Creed Origins. Who experienced his own experience through grief. Both of these games look super. Now, I've played Dave the Diver on PC. I'm excited to play it on PlayStation. I was going to wait till it went on sale because I don't need to buy it a third time after picking it up on Switch. But coming to the PlayStation Plus catalog is super dope. And then Tales of Kinzera having its like launch, like it didn't come out anywhere else. It's coming out everywhere day one. And then it's coming to PlayStation Plus. Like, that's a banger decision for me. Like, I'm going to play that instantly. I was going to anyway, but I know you're a PC guy, so I don't know how much this news like matters to you. Were you going to pick up either these? I mean, I don't know if you played Dave the Diver, or if you're going to pick up Tales either way.
I am going to play Tales of Kinzera. It looks amazing. And Dave the Diver, I actually played, but first of all, I thought we only mentioned indie games, Danny.
Listen, I put the asterisk on the tweet. It's a complicated beast right now. Dave like counts but doesn't count. It's Listen,
No,
Dave.
but Dave the Diver, like, it deserves all the attention it gets.
Yeah.
It's an amazing game. It's so addictive.
It's such a blast, and it's like they said in the article, it's super wholesome, but also like edgy's not the word, that's way too aggressive for it, but you're basically just like you're this dude Dave, you dive underwater during the day, you collect fish, you go up, up topside and you run a sushi bar, but you are like the head waiter, and you have I think it's Boncho is like the sous chef, and he'll cut up all the sushi. People will come in, order their food, and you like as the hefty man like all right, and then run it to the other side and like hand it off. You can hire more people as you get more money, and then diving deeper down into the ocean, you'll find other things. And as someone who is petrified of the ocean floor, because we don't know what's down there and how much is unexplored, and there's going to be some crazy Cthulhu-ass looking bitch down there, I ain't about it. But Dave the Diver lets me do that in the most safe way that I can from the comfort of my home, and now I can aim to get a platinum trophy. So that'll be fun. But yeah, no, I think in a world where like Game Pass exists and is constantly outdoing what PlayStation has, I love these occasional like, boom, this one's launching on PlayStation Plus, boom, you can play this one. I think Chia was another one. There was another one in there somewhere that dropped on PlayStation Plus catalog. Now, not like the free games each month. So if you have the basic tier, you'll get the free games. I believe this is like tier 2 and 3 for like the catalog. You have your Netflix style PlayStation. You'll get to play Dave the Diver on the 16th and then Tales of Kinzera on the 23rd. So that's dope. That's lit. Can't wait to play them. Anything else on Dave and Tales?
Not really.
Okay, cool. Then I've got one more itty bitty little quick news announcement, and if I can just make sure I have myself organized so I don't cover things. Eternal Strands was announced by IGN first. So let me pull up the trailer. Listen, I'm playing production man and podcaster, so give me a break here, okay? Let me mute that one. But yes, Eternal Strands is a new third-person action adventure that draws inspiration from the likes of Shadow of the Colossus and Monster Hunter, where you're doing battle with massive creatures hellbent on destroying you, and combines that with Tears of the Kingdom-like physics-manipulating powers to turn you into the ultimate Sorcerer Supreme badass. In its development from Yellow Brick Games, which is led by Mike Laidlaw, I believe, and the longtime creative director on the Dragon Age series. So I looked at this trailer a little bit before we started recording. I see all the influences from all those other games. I don't know if Monster Hunter, Shadow of the Colossus, or Tears of the Kingdom are games you've played or dabbled with at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
I can see them as well. The visuals mostly remind me of like Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes, 100%. I saw Tears of the Kingdom. I even looked at it like Immortals: Phoenix Rising a little bit visually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I'm in that spot where I see the Monster Hunter thing because you're fighting these big Colossus. Definitely more Shadow of the Colossus than I think Monster Hunter. But like the end of the trailer, I think teases like a beast type thing rather than these giant Titan type beings. This looks really dope. I don't think they gave us a date or anything. It might be more on the Steam page, but so far we just got this first look and I'm in. I don't know if they've showed multiplayer. I don't know if I read multiplayer. But if it's a single player experience, more akin to Shadow of the Colossus, I'm definitely in. I mean, I'm in regardless. It looks baller, but
it does.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm seeing this, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, dude.
Like, this is the kind of I'm not the biggest fan of like the Monster Hunter series because it's too hard, and I suck at video games.
I get it.
But this looks like I might give it a try at least.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited. It looks fun. I gotta see a little more about what it's all about in terms of like the narrative, how the exploration works, if it's a little more linear or if it is like the Shadow of the Colossus, you beat one, teleport back, sword up, there's the next guy, go again type deal. But either way, I think it all looks awesome. Very excited to see that one. I was saying they were teasing it on, I believe, Twitter for the last like week, being like, we have an announcement from IGN. Yeah, look forward to this, baby. And I'm like, okay, let me see what you're working on. Show it. Let me see. Lost my show notes. I got to find those.
Oh no.
Quick, vamp about your love for Shadow of the Colossus and stuff.
I haven't played Shadow of the Colossus.
What? Okay, what's that?
But the thing is, I already know how it ends.
Okay.
And that kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not gonna spoil it here.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like you have to experience it without knowing what's gonna happen.
I think so, yeah, because I'd played it first when like I hadn't touched it on PS2. I played the remake on PS4. It was my first time playing this, and I'd always seen like what the game is about, but I never knew like the lore. And then not spoil it for anyone else, just based on what you said there. Like it's fun to play that and experience it. There were a lot of things that happened later on. I'm like, oh no, really? That's okay. This is what happened. This is okay. Shit. Get that damn big old dude with a sword and giant bird and big bull man. Yeah, dude. Fun ass game. Would recommend.
It does look amazing, but I have a couple of games like that have been spoiled for me, and I just can't return to them.
I get it for sure, dude. Being like the end is known, and I'm like, I know how it ends. I know what's gonna happen. I've said that with One Piece way too much. I was like, man, I knew this big spoiler. All right, but hey, that's all the quick news for today. Hey, let us know if you liked the quick news or if the quick news was too long, but I like talking about new things. But hey, how about we get on to the topic of the show, the thumbnail thing that people clicked on this for, Pepper Grinder. So Pepper Grinder came out this last week. Let me pull up the Steam page real quick, just so I can read a quick description for anybody out there watching. But Pepper Grinder is an action-packed 2D adventure, everything scrolled, blending traditional platforming with an alternate drilling mode that allows you to dive in and out of the ground like a dolphin swimming through the water. You and I have both played it. Have you finished it yet? Or
I have not.
Okay.
I'm still stuck on one of the bosses.
Okay, is it the same boss talked about last time or another one?
It's another one. I actually managed, and the bosses might be the first thing I want to talk about because they're challenging in a good way, I think.
Okay,
but I struggled with them because there's I miss some context to them,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like I get into like the big room where you fight the boss, and you're like, well, here's the boss, just do whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit stuck, and I think it might be down to me not having like enough experience with 2D platformers or something. But I struggled with it. What did you think about the bosses?
I think the bosses were a decent bit challenging. I think as I got to like the first one probably gave me the most trouble because I think the levels start out like very simple. They give you enough room for like, hey, you don't really, I mean, you can die, but like I would say it's hard to die, but like the game isn't particularly challenging early on. I think it's really accessible if you want to just have like a fun time just diving and dashing through. Because even if you get like a game over and lose all your health, you just kind of teleport back a bit and then just go again. But once you got to like the bosses, you were officially hitting like, here's your first skill check. Like, get ready to fight this thing. And the first boss you've seen in the trailer is this giant like beetle that has this like, I've been calling them narwhals. I don't know what you call these enemies, but they're like little green dudes. I'm like, these are narwhals. But it's one of the narwhal dudes who rides a giant like beetle, and he like loops around the map. So as he goes up, you need to go around the other side, come in from like the belly, stab him, and when he drops to the ground, then you want to like drill into his face and like do more damage. Trying to circumvent him, make sure he's going the right way and everything, like screwed me over so much. I spent like an afternoon trying to beat this boss. I think the further I got and the better I got with maneuvering the drill, I got better at it and spent less time on each boss. I think I mentioned to you prior when we were like planning the show. I absolutely bullied the final boss. Anyone who's been around long enough, when we did our Let's Play of Cuphead, when we got to King Dice, we glitched him out where like he was doing his like hand movement and no cards were coming out. So he was stuck there, not actually doing the fight. So we were able to just shoot him and like totally cheese that fight. I got that in this final boss. Spoiler alert a little bit, not really. 2 stages. The first stage is where I bugged him out. So luckily it wasn't an issue where like the second one I actually got a fight out of it. But yeah, the first one I like dug out from underneath, stabbed the dude in the chest, and he just like sat there like staring down at me. And I'm like, oh no, he's not going to fight back. I'm just going to kick his ass. So like I powered through that first fight. Thank God it wasn't, because if that's how it like I won the final boss fight and then rolled credits, I'm like, oh, that was really lackluster. That kind of sucked. But yeah, I think the bosses were a good bit challenging. But I think there's 4? It's not a particularly long game. I think it was like 4 worlds, 4 bosses.
I think so, yeah.
I think that sounds right. Yeah, I think if your skill level's high enough, or even if you just adjust to it quick, I think you could probably knock this out in like an afternoon if you're like really good with 2D platformers and adjusting the drill stuff. But fun game. Do wish it was a little bit longer. How did you feel going from like levels to levels? I don't know. I know you're on world 3 now. You're on world 2.
I'm at the boss from world 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But I agree. It could have been a bit longer because the major draw to this game is the drilling mechanics.
Yeah.
And the fun you can have with that. They use really innovative ways. Yeah, that's the word.
Probably. It's above my head.
To like get the drilling in there. But I felt like they introduced new mechanics and then they dropped them.
Yes,
and I
really
thought
do.
That was a shame. Like there were like some really fun mechanics. There was one I didn't particularly like, which was the shooting one. If I wanted to play a shooting side scroller, I'd play something else.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of like fun ways and creative ways they introduce, and then you use them for one level and that's it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like some of them are terrain based. Like I know in the third one, I think that's a snow one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get like the snowmobile, which like is pretty cool for traversal, and it's almost like that Call of Duty moment where like each one of the weird comparison, but each of those like missions, you're like, this mission is here, so you're using this weapon and that. But like I think in a 2D platformer where you have like sections of worlds that like introduce this new tool, but then it's not persistent throughout, I can see where I'm like, man, this gun didn't matter anymore. Or I know in World 4, it's in the trailer again, but there's this giant mech you can use that I thought was like really cool. But like it also is a little bit janky where like I think I had to reset the game a handful of times because I would go to break through a building with this mech and then it wouldn't break. And I'm like, do I not have the momentum? Do I need to like, so I'd like run back as far as I can, but the thing's like super slow. So I'll like run backwards and then pivot and then run again, but I don't have the momentum that I need to break through it. So I'm like, maybe I fumbled the level. So I'd restart, go again. I get past it, but now the next building wouldn't break. So again, it was one of those things where I couldn't tell if it was me as the player, like not doing it right. Or if it was the game was being a little bit like tedious with like, hey, you didn't do this right. And now it's wiped. You ruined it. You got to try again. Which sounds like,
well, to be honest,
rough, right?
I noticed a couple of bugs, which I didn't expect from a Devolver game.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being a bit harsh now, but for example, the level selection.
Okay.
Sometimes I'd finish a level and then I'd go to the world map.
Yeah.
And I'd be put back 3 levels.
Oh.
And it's a minor issue because I could just then walk to the correct level.
Yeah.
But still, it felt like a little unpolished.
Okay. And you're playing on Steam, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
On Steam Deck.
Yeah. Outside of... Interesting. I haven't touched it on Steam Deck. I'm wondering, and I assume based on the build that probably isn't the factor. But yeah, I sat and think about it. I didn't have a lot of issues mechanically with it. Mechanically is not the word I would use. I didn't have a lot of issues with it other than, the boss froze up on me and the occasional times where like the mech wasn't breaking through the walls. Outside of that, I don't think I had any like the game stopped working or the game did this to me. It definitely was a lot more of the, a little bit of the challenge going to and from different bosses and different levels, but interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think in most cases, Devolver, in what I can think about, like, I can't think of a case where, like, Devolver was like, I didn't like this game. It was pretty bad. Like, Devolver's pretty polished. They're usually really good with that. And, again, from my perspective, I don't think I had an issue with, like, the game wasn't polished as much as, like, this is really fun. I'm hoping there's, like, in a couple months from now, like, hey, we did have more content. Here's the free update with, like, 5 new worlds. Or maybe not that many, like 2 or 3 new worlds. But, like, or an expansion of, like, here's this. Once you beat the game, you do have the time trials and like not really my cup of tea. I think if this released on PlayStation, I could go for platinum. I might try and go for those time trials, but I don't think it was something I'm too concerned about doing on Steam. Yeah, because that second boss is a big ass bitch. I hate this man. Oh man. How'd you like visually the game? I know like when I first saw the trailer, I was a little concerned with like the rapid movement and the pixel art with how like kind of small Pepper is on the screen. I didn't know how it was going to play out. How'd you feel like visually and how the whole thing came together?
I felt it held up. Like I played it on Steam Deck, so obviously everything was tiny.
Yeah.
But I never felt like anything was too tiny for me to like decently see.
Okay.
I felt like everything was clear. I adore the art style.
Yeah,
I think
it's pretty great.
It's colorful. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Moonlighter.
Oh,
but only a little bit.
Speaking of my heart, I love me my Moonlighter.
No, but I felt like the same. The art style of Moonlighter spoke to me in the same way that this game's art style did. But yeah, I didn't have any issues with like visibility.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah, that was interesting to hear that with like you playing on Steam Deck. I think I spoke with Mike a little bit from 6-1 Indie, and I think he also played it on Steam Deck. He knocked it out in, I think he said like 2 play sessions. This is one of those games I was like super excited for this year, and like I can't say I was disappointed. Like I was not disappointed in Pepper Grinder. I think it's a really fun game. It's one of those things where I think about this haunts me back to high school where like I played a lot more of a diverse catalog of games than my friends. If it wasn't Halo, Call of Duty, they're like, I don't know if I'm going to play it. Should I do it, Danny? I'd be like, hey, I think you should, because I think it's great. But I will also just like sit there and question a lot where I'm like, I loved it. I loved it for this, that, and the other. I can see this as an issue. But even with like the handful of bugs that happened and how short it was, that was quality enough for me. I have no complaint. I'm just watching the footage back where I'm whiffing this. And audio listeners have no idea, but I am butchering this one like platforming level. But yeah, this is all my footage by the way, and watching it on YouTube. But yeah, I think getting used to the different gimmicks each level, and like you'd already mentioned how they kind of bring one in and stop. Like the level that's being shown, like you swing and you have to hold the drill button to like propel yourself forward, but then you have to let go to stop, but then press it again to like dig through walls and stuff. So sometimes it's like snappy movement of like click, release, click, like, or if you're on like one of the cannons, you like hold it until like you're in the right position and do it again. So like if you're watching, you can see how many times I just like smash into a wall because I wasn't holding the drill button. So like there is this curve of like I finally got good at it, but then they do take that out for the next level. I think if you're going for those time trials and you want to perfect the game and you want to do all that stuff, I think it's great. I think you have that to be like, I got used to this skill, let me get used to the next one. But I think if you're just trying to like start the game, finish the game, roll credits, I think it can be a little bit tedious, but I do still love the flow of it, if that makes sense. Like it's so weird to be like, I didn't like this, but I loved it.
But the only thing that could have made it better for me was like I sometimes struggled with the checkpoints.
Okay.
If this had a reboot system like Celeste, for example,
yeah, where you just like
I think I might have enjoyed it even more.
Okay.
Because sometimes I got stuck on a particular place in a level.
Yeah.
And every time I'd have to go back to like the last checkpoint, and it would have been a while since I had seen a last checkpoint.
Yeah.
So that would have made it. The same goes like with the boss battles. Every time you die in a boss battle, you have to watch the entire animation again of it coming to life and stuff like that. It felt like that wasn't necessary per se. Right. But it's a minor gripe to be honest.
But I get it. I've definitely had those complaints with other games before, like and I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there are those moments of like, I finished this boss fight, I'm ready to progress to, or not finish the boss fight. I've gotten to this boss fight, I've lost, I'm ready to go in for like round 2. But I have to do I jump into the room, wind up the drill. The character does his little like, what are you doing here? Prepare to fight animation. And like that whole thing happens. And now you've died again. And then you have to go in again. And you've like that annoyance of seeing it time and time again. I'm like, I wish it was just died, boom, back into the fight, go again. No, I totally.
Exactly.
I think that could be super tedious unless it is like literally like a maybe 2-second animation. If I died, fade from black, he goes, what the? And then drills up, we're good. But yeah, watching the little animation each time, like, that's a little tedious. It just kind of suck.
Yeah. Especially since I kind of sucked at the boss battles.
Yeah.
So I saw those animations way too much.
Yeah, dude, trust me. The amount of time I watched this beetle fall, and then I'm trying to drill this stupid little narwhal man. He's like, get back up. You're going to die this time. Especially because each time, like, you finish a round, he gets more projectiles. And sometimes I just could not dodge them to save my life. I think the footage people are seeing now is like when I kind of got the hang of it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to dodge him this time. He's not going to get me. But even then, it was a matter of getting him to go the right direction. So
yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed the game. I'm not one for like number scores, and I have a whole mentality about it. I don't know how you are. Maybe as time goes, Danny, you got to break down. If you want the podcast to go, you better give them some numbers. But I've always just hated like people comparing numbers where they're like, hey, this one this game got a 5 out of 5 for me, and this one got a 4. But like in other people's hearts, like technically, mechanically, this game is just better than another. And I hate those comparisons, so I tend not to do them. But no, I definitely recommend Pepper Grinder. I think there's a few gripes. I think some polish based on what you've experienced, and then a few of the lack of the bugs that I've experienced. I think if the game looks like a dope time, I think it's going to be a dope time for you. I definitely think Pepper Grinder is a fun one to pick up. I don't know if you have contradicting thoughts or how you feel about it.
No, I totally agree. Like, I would recommend it, even though I haven't managed to finish it yet. It's just, like, the grinding mechanic is a lot of fun, and I wish we had more time with it, actually. Yeah. So I'm like you said, I'm hoping for, like, DLC or something.
Yeah.
Because it would be fun to explore even more of that.
Yeah, a quick little expansion, some extra levels, or even just, like... Now, I still have to go back. I've gotten, I think, half the secret levels. But to get the secret levels, you have to get all the coins in each level and then buy a key from your shop in each world. And then you get to take that key and open it. So I've gotten like half of those. I still have to get worlds 3 and 4. But I was looking for a guide of like, here's where all the coins are. And I found one. So now if I get a chance to go back and do that, I can like get all the coins that I need, go do all the levels, at least experience a little bit of everything before I like officially, uninstall, book it, move on to the next thing. But
yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Pepper Grinder?
I just think people should try it. It's like it doesn't cost that much.
I think $15. I think
I think so, and it's totally worth the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, Pepper Grinder. Yeah, $14.99 on Steam, and it's also available on Switch. So if you want to play that, Pepper Grinder is out there. Yeah.
And it's an ideal game to play handheld.
Yeah.
Like, it works perfectly. It looks good on your tiny screen. And it's one of those games like when you're listening to a podcast, like this podcast.
Yeah,
you could
play our podcast.
you could play it while listening. Yeah.
You heard Tofr. Go download Pepper Grinder and play it for the rest of this podcast, which is however long it will be. Quick, you mentioned this before. We didn't put it on like the docket, but you had said you played Open Roads.
Yes.
I'd love to hear about that one because I haven't touched that one yet.
So Open Roads is a narrative game by the Open Roads team, which features. Hang on, where are my notes?
Dude, honestly, I get it. I always try to remember the actors' names, and I cannot for life of me. I just know the one is the mom from Bedtime Stories.
No, but it's from like the people in some of the people in Open Roads team made Gone Home.
Oh no shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is an excellent game, and Open Roads is published by Annapurna Interactive as well.
Okay.
So that's usually high quality, and I have to say this is a really good game. Is it as legendary as Gone Home was? I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a 3-hour experience.
Okay.
It tells the story of a young girl and her mom going on a road trip to like find a family secret.
Do they kind of harp on? I assume as you play they do, but when you get started, do they kind of say what this family secret is? I don't know if that's like plot spoiling deal, but I think a lot of the trailers have been going like find a family secret. And I think it's a little vague for me, where I'm like, what's the secret? Is someone die? Is it a thing? Not that I need the spoiler, but like, does the game tell you a little bit early enough, like here is what the family secret is, or like here's the problem, now we got to figure it out, or is it a mystery throughout?
They give hints to what the secret might be.
Okay.
But I can't really say more than that.
Okay, no, that's valid.
Yeah, because the whole game is about discovering what the secret is. There's two sections to this game. One is that you play first person and you walk around rooms and you pick up stuff and look for clues like that. And the other section is just dialogue between the mother and daughter. The dialogue is really good. Like these I don't know the two actresses who play these characters, but they do a really good job. They feel like an actual mother and daughter team, which is fun. The only thing I did notice is that a lot of the dialogue is like exposition, which you don't need because you're already discovering the clues yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a bit weird. Like some of the game wasn't necessary. This could have perfectly been a visual novel, for example.
Okay.
And it would have been good.
So like, the expiration is a little like, you take it or leave it. You're like, you'd rather it not be there, or
if like one of these has to go, either the exploration or the dialogue, because for a 3-hour game, the story could have been a 1-hour game.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one that was on my list, and like it was funny because I did my like, hey, here's 10 indie games, here's 12 indie games coming out this month. I think this one was supposed to be back in February. It's supposed to be out.
Yeah.
And I had planned a whole video, and then it got delayed like the day I was recording, so I had to take it out. But I had this funny like go from one card game to another. I can't even think what the other card game was. But I was like, okay, we'll move this to the next month. And then I talked about it last month. And there's one that I'm like, I think I'd like to try and like knock out a platinum in an afternoon on PlayStation, but like it's just everything else I'm playing, I just haven't gotten around to it. And I think I could see myself grabbing this on like sale one day, be like, oh sweet, let me do this on a rainy afternoon, because I think I'll enjoy it. I love it's weird because it has that vibe of a walking sim, but it is not a walking sim.
It kind of is.
Okay.
But it switches to these dialogue scenes where you can actually see both characters.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about that is like sometimes you can see them actually talk. You can see their mouth move, and then sometimes they don't, even while the actresses are talking. Huh. It's a weird choice, and the art is lovely, but it feels like they could have handled that differently. You see the same animations come back a lot of the times.
Okay, so a lot of like recycled, yeah.
Yeah, but the story is actually worthwhile.
Okay.
Especially if you like have Game Pass. It's on Game Pass, and I played it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
And if you have 3 hours to spare, it's worth checking out.
Okay. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I definitely want on the radar. Now that I know it's on Game Pass, I somehow missed that announcement. I guess I'll try it on Game Pass. Yeah, Game Pass is my let me try a game, and if I love it enough, I'm gonna buy it on PlayStation, do it there. Or if it's not on PlayStation, like Thirsty Suitors is when I played. I'm like, I want to play this on PlayStation. I just have to pick that up at some point. But not that we're talking about Thirsty Suitors at all. But since you got to review a game that wasn't Pepper Grinder, I'll review a game that's not Pepper Grinder, because one of the other reasons I didn't talk about when we were creating this podcast is that I get quite a few review codes. There's a lot of indie games to play, and doing my like 1 minute to 1:30 like TikTok reviews or the YouTube 5-minute things, like that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of scripting and editing and stuff. But doing a podcast might make it a little bit better. But my embargo will be up for this one, so I can talk about it by the time this episode drops out. But I've been playing Biomorph, which is this dark and grungy's not the word, but it's like a dark Metroidvania. I wouldn't say a la Hollow Knight, but if you see like the grays and the colors of that, very similar. You play as this cat warrior type deal, but each enemy you defeat, like the remains get left on the ground, and you can kind of scan that DNA and then turn into those enemies. So like this is big one, I believe it's called like a Teroth, and when you beat it up, you pick up the DNA, turn into it, and then you can charge through walls, or it has this weird like screech attack that like kind of sends little orbs throughout the room. There's another little guy that's like, it's like a little like beaver looking dude. He like hobbles around, but his whole thing, he like spits out a boomerang and then it comes back. And like, I've been using that so much for just like regular combat. He's awesome. I've only met maybe like half the creatures so far. I'm probably about, I'd say 3 or 4 hours in with my playtime. It's a suitable Metroidvania. I can't say I'm in love with it. I can't say I have this drive to go back and finish it and be like, dude, I gotta see the end of this game. But like it does the job. It's the exploring. I can't get here yet. I got to get a new upgrade, or I got to find a new form that I can turn into so that I can go back to this spot. You'll find upgrades that you'll then use that'll drag currency closer to you, or you'll take less damage, get different basic attacks and everything like that. It's pretty dope. I think this one just came out. It was another one I talked about last month for my March releases, and then I think again got delayed as I posted the video, and then finally came out the day this episode comes out. It's on Steam and Switch. I think it's fun. If you like your Metroidvanias, if you look at that trailer and you're like, this looks really fun, I'm into it, definitely give it a shot. I think for me, it's just Metroidvanias are very hit or miss, where if it's not the tone or the characters that I'm really in love with, like, again, Hollow Knight being one, The Messenger, which is like one of those weird half Metroidvanias, but by the time you get through it, it is. Those hit me a lot more based on the style. I think Biomorph, the mechanic is really dope. And like the more you fight creatures, like if you defeat something enough times, you unlock it kind of like a permanent upgrade. So you can like, it goes in like your list of stuff. And I think you have to adjust it at one of the save stations, which kind of sucks a little bit. It's one of those tedious things. Like I have to go here to like upgrade myself. But that's a Metroidvania in a nutshell. But yeah, like the little gopher beaver dude I was talking about, he's like permanently locked into my B slot. So anytime I'm like, I gotta fight L1 B, and I turn to this little beaver and I just start spitting the boomerang, and I'm like, this is great. I love it. It's fun. I like the combat. Visuals, like I said, since it has that Hollow Knight inspiration, I don't think it is quite as beautiful as Hollow Knight. I believe, if I recall, it might be a one-man team. I could totally be lying about that.
Wow.
But it's a solid game. I think, again, it's one of those ones, I think if you think you're going to like it, you'll like it. But
yeah, the art style, I enjoyed that. I played this, I played the demo for this during the last Next Fest.
Yeah.
But I can imagine, like, everything you just said makes sense, even though I only played it for like half an hour.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about picking it up on full release, and I probably won't.
Yeah, I think it's if If I hadn't received it, I think I should also clarify for the FTC or whoever it matters. I did receive this game for review. I think I mentioned that, but I kind of skimmed past it. So I did not pay for this game. I received it as a free copy. I think that's important to note. If we got to make sure we do that whenever we talk about games, we get codes for it, or we go to jail or something. I don't know what the repercussions are. No, I think I talked about this. I did a review recently of the Mobius Machine, which is like, I have no complaints, but I have nothing raving to say about it. Like it is a suitable game. I think it is one of those, like, again, I hate numbers, but it's a solid like 6-7. That's like, it's not perfect. It's not like amazing, but also I have like nothing to be like, this game sucks for XYZ reason. Like nothing burdened me enough. So I think in a space like this where there's always something new for indies that's like exciting that you want to go play, and you have those very rare lulls, this seems like one of those very rare lull games. Or like you see it on Steam for like half price or something. You're like, you know what? It's time to try Biomorph. Like this seems like that kind of release. And that's why I'm always so like hesitant with negative reviews, because like I may not like it, but I know people are going to like this game. There are going to be people who love this game. I'm just not in that audience. And even though I found things to like about it, I'm excited to see someone out there who like fell in love with Biomorph and like goes through the lore and finds all the creatures, and the person that's filling out the wiki of like, this is the monster that you need to do this thing and everything. Like that audience is going to exist. I'm just not that person. But
yeah, like when I played it during Next Fest, I also played the demo for Ultros.
Yes, and dude.
Ultros just felt like a step up.
Yes,
Biomorph.
1000%. Yeah, I think in a world where like of the Metroidvanias I've played this year with Ultros and Biomorph, I'm taking Ultros. Like that game is baller. That game's so lit. Like, I did my review on that a little while ago. I've already put my coverage, but just to be safe, I also received a review key for Ultros, just in case I don't want to go to jail. But yeah, no, Ultros is super sick. The art style of that one sells it alone. But like, I think one thing I saw for Ultros, and a lot of people didn't like, is like the kind of roguelike element to it, where it's not a roguelike, but each time you complete one of the major objectives, the world like resets. So you like go back to the spawn, you lose your upgrades, but as you travel and find things, you can get these gems that you can then lock in your skills like permanently. So you want to do that, so when you loop, you get to keep the stuff you like. Like I kept some of the double jump skills, some of the specific attacks, because I thought those were important for my traversal. And some people are like, oh man, I don't like that it resets. But you can fix it. That's up to you to make sure you're doing that. If you don't do it, you're just missing a mechanic of the game. But like, I thought that was really fun and really cool. And like Ultros is already on I have my little Notion tablet of like, here are my 10 indie games for the year. And like Ultros is on there. Whether it'll get knocked down based on what comes out the rest of the year is yet to be seen. But currently it's like hanging at the top with like at least Balatro. We can't not have Balatro up there.
Yes.
I love this was the Pepper Grind review. Like, oh, we were talking about the other ones quick, but yeah, no. Too many indie games to talk about, man. And that'll probably be like the shtick every time we talk about one thing and then lead in like 14 other games, because there's just so many to play.
There really is.
Yeah. Speaking of so many games to play, how about we take a look at the indies releasing this week? I was going to call it This Week in Indie, but that's what the 6-1 Indie guys call it. And I'm like, shit, they'll copyright me. I can't take that. So we'll iron out a name for like our indie release schedule. But basically each week I'll just talk about here are the indies coming out between the day we're recording and the next day. So these are the indies releasing between April 2nd and April 8th. First off, actually 4 games, both double releases. On April 2nd, we've got Of Life and Land releasing on Steam in early access. That is one of those city builder type deals. You're traveling to other nations, trading resources, getting animals and plants and everything. Again, for safety, I have a review code for this one. I have not played it, but so I can't speak on it, but I do have the game in my possession. So just got to be safe on that. Next up, we have Pathless Woods. Another one drops April 2nd on Steam in early access. This one seemed like a cozy kind of city builder. I pulled it up real quick before we got started. I'm pull it up again just so I can have that little description because I totally missed it. Let's see. Embark on a cozy open world survival journey inspired by ancient Chinese heritage. Gather resources, cultivate crops, build your dream home, and defend it from marauders. Team up with friends to explore and uncover a world where adventure meets serenity. It looks really cute. I think for Stardew fans, for anyone who likes those life sim type deals, and you like the Chinese heritage idea of it, I don't know how deep it gets, if it's more of just like a cultural thing or we're talking like mythos and everything. I've only seen like a little snippet of the trailer, but I think it looks cute. I don't know if you know anything about either of these two so far or...
I've seen the trailer for Pathless Woods,
Okay.
and I I'm kind of digging it, but
Okay.
I'm like when it comes to like the life sims and the farming sims, I'm picky.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see.
No, I get it, dog. Let's see. Next up, probably the biggest guy on this list is Buckshot Roulette is getting its Steam release date, starting on April 4th. So the day this episode comes out, you can play Buckshot Roulette on Steam. You shocked me when we started this. You're like, I've only heard of Biomorph. I'm like, you haven't heard of Buckshot Roulette? And like, there's the part of me that's like, you're gonna see a snippet, be like, oh, this game, I've seen this on TikTok. But it's this dope roguelike where you are. Excuse me, I burped. That's disgusting. You are in this like nightclub, but you're in like a hidden room where you're like playing Russian roulette with a shotgun with one other dude, and you get like power ups and upgrades. You can either slow down their turns, skip turns. You can cheat by looking at like the gun and seeing if it's alive or a blank ammo. Reload, and you have to like shoot the other guy. You can shoot yourself if you know it's a blank or if you think it's a blank. So you can kind of like take the shot and then, next turn I'm going to get this guy, or I wasted his shot so he can't. It's like a big strategy game that I really, really dug. Most of us played on itch.io, and now that it's coming to Steam, I guess it's just a little bit more accessible for those who don't like use or know about itch. But yeah, I'm glad it's getting another platform. I'm hoping this gets a console release with like maybe a little more content. I think if you're really good at it, you could probably knock it out in like 20, 30 minutes. So it's not a long experience, but yeah. I think
But like when you described the game, I was thinking of Inscription, and Inscription started out as a small game on itch as well.
Yep.
And then it grew into something way bigger. So hopefully this is the case here as well.
That's what I'm praying for. I have this image of like the Buckshot Deluxe Edition that's got like maybe not additional bosses, but just like more rounds, more upgrades, or not upgrades, but more like, more to explore, more levels, stuff like that. Because I think I would like, this game is deserving of that, and I don't know what the development case is for the guy making Buckshot Roulette, but I'm hoping they're just like, well, you know what, I popped off. I don't want them to get Flappy Birded. I don't want them to have this is too much for me. I can't make anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And then to round out the list for this week, once again, we're talking about Biomorph. That drops on April 4th. Again, today, the day this podcast comes out. Releases on Steam, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. If you already forgot what that one is, just rewind the podcast about 20 minutes and you'll hear what that one was. Let's see. We're getting close to the end here, but I had another thing we had here. Viewer write-ins on the forum again. If you want to write into the show, give us your ideas, questions, and talk about your favorite indie games. We want to take the time to hear what your guys' favorite indie games are. So once again, fill out that form. You can tell us what your favorite indie game is and why. And today we are hearing from Aid Medic, who writes in to say, my favorite indie game is Astroneer. Astroneer for me is an amazing and calm open world game where there is just so much to do. You can automate nearly everything. You have the right tools and the bytes to do so. It's my own calm game that I play after I get a bit angry at other games, and that's why I love it, because it's always chills me out. We both said neither of us have played Astroneer. I don't know how much you know about it, like at all. Like
it like the visuals kind of reminded me of No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But I haven't played. The thing is, open world games aren't my jam.
Sure.
I need like a narrative to follow.
Yeah, something more linear. Yeah.
Yeah. But it does look really good, and I've heard many people like gushing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should check it out.
Maybe we should. Astroneer is one that I remember back in college. Me and my roommate, Jose, if you're out there listening, love you, bud. He's not listening. We saw this on Facebook, which is so weird because like getting indie news from Facebook is like not really a thing anymore. But like, I remember seeing like trailers for this, and they'd put it on like their Astroneer page and everything. I'm like, this looks really cute. I like it. And we followed it for so long, and it was just like, it hadn't come out as long as we followed it on Facebook. And I just remember seeing it. I believe it dropped in early access on Game Pass at one point. And I was like, oh shoot, I got to check this out, because me and Jose were always excited about it, and it just passed me by. I just never got to it. Okay. And like, I'm looking at some of the screenshots and stuff, and it looks, stunning, gorgeous. I love like the vibrant colors of it. As I said
really
earlier,
pops.
Yes, I'm seeing like these pinks and these purples and these blues. I'm nervous that it has some of that No Man's Sky traversal. That's the thing. Like, if I go in and start exploring and setting up my base, like, you got to go to another planet, hop in your ship and fly there. I'm like, I don't want to do this part. I just want to do the survival part. Mm-hmm. But No, it looks dope. I'm excited. I'm excited that so many of you wrote in already. Anyone who wrote in, you're like, we didn't read my question. Trust me. We have more episodes to come. I'm going to have them bookmarked. We're going to get through them. We have plenty more of you wrote about your favorite indie games. Plenty of you who asked some great questions. Some a little more existential than for a first podcast question. So we're going to hold off a little bit on those.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, I think that might just be a wrap on our first episode of Playlog. I put an asterisk behind the first episode because technically it's not, but also it's our first episode, baby.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to let us know what you thought of the show, whether it's in the YouTube comments or leaving a review on whichever podcast service you're listening on. Also, if you're on YouTube, do not forget to drop that like. And if you're on the podcast services, leave a little ranking, little stars, really helpful. Real quick plugs. Tofr, you want to tell them about where they can find you?
Sure. I'm going to be starting to stream more on Twitch again, and you can find me at play_nice_kids over there. On Twitter, I'm under the same name, and on Instagram, I am just play.nice.kids in one word.
Oh yeah, there it is. If you want to see some more indie game stuff, make sure you check out Tofr. And of course, if you're here on the CGDannyB channel, we're in the same places at CGDannyB, Twitch, YouTube if you're here, Instagram, TikTok, you know, the whole 9 yards. Thank you guys again so much for watching this episode of Playlog. Be sure to let us know what you thought, what you'd like to see in the future as far as content ideas. We're here to work with you guys and make something you guys want to listen to and enjoy. So with that, happy gaming.